Ladies and gents, it's Pete Thorne. Welcome to my studio, and hey, welcome to my demo of the Sidekick Junior from Crazy Tube Circuits. This is one of my favorite pedal companies, coming to you all the way from Greece. They just make great stuff. I don't know, I always like their pedals. This is honest truth, this isn't just spin. I've never tried one of their pedals that I didn't absolutely go, yeah, like this is awesome when I plug it in. And that's the same way I feel about this. I mean, this thing does so much in a super small size pedal housing. This is basically full-featured reverb, modulation, and delay all in one. Now there's a previous version of this pedal. Let me find that, actually, I have it. Look at that, there it is. And as you can tell, it's much bigger, right? But this one, you know, quite compact and is gonna fit on most pedal boards. This one, you'd have to find a space for it a little bit more, even though this does a ton as well. I mean, this is everything as well, reverb, delay, and mod, and all that stuff in one box. But look at how tiny this one is. So let's talk about the individual effects that you can get on this. And of course, it's digital, but it's like beautiful, kind of very 80s warm analog sounding. Some of the effects are digital style, like, you know, shimmer and hall reverb and stuff like that. But there are analog sounds in there. So let's start with the mod. On the mod side, we've got basically an ensemble style. I think that's kind of basically CE2. And then flanger, and then dimension, similar to the classic dimension pedal. And basically you get a speed and a depth control, and you can pick which one of those mods you want with this little three-way toggle. As far as delay goes, you get two delay types. You get basically a digital or a tape simulation, and you've got essentially a mix control there, a tail or feedback control, and then a delay time control. And I think it's anywhere from 40 to 800 milliseconds of delay time in both the tape and the digital modes. Last but not least, the reverb, and this is probably the most full featured. There's a ton of reverb types in there. There's a spring, a plate, a hall, a shimmer reverb, an exciter reverb, that was one of my favorites, and a gated reverb. And you get essentially like an excite control, which does different things depending on what reverb you're using, but essentially it's a size control for many of the reverbs. Or a dwell, I think, kind of for the spring verb. And then you got a mix control reverb amount. Now you say to yourself, 3 effects but 2 buttons. How do you switch them on and off? If you have this jack here hooked up to the Crazy Tube Circuit's little auxiliary foot switch, then you can switch all 3 things independently. Otherwise, what you can do is have like the delay come on with one, and then the reverb and mod come on at the same time with the other foot switch. And you get basically a selection switch that lets you pick a few different modes there, how the switching works and what comes on and off when you hit the switches. But in practice, it's really easy to use. I kind of left it in the mode where the mod and the reverb would come on with one foot switch and the delay gets switched on with the other one. So I'm going to play a little more through the pedal for you. I'm going to solo some of those parts outside of the mix so you can clearly hear what this thing does. I think you get a really good idea by the end of this video, the kind of sounds that it creates. For most of the sounds in this video, I'm running it in front of an amplifier. Essentially, I ran it in front of my PT100 plug-in from Universal Audio, always using the clean channel, essentially, and just varying the gain amount on the channel. So it's kind of like running the pedal in front of a clean Fender amp, really. For one sound, the lead guitar sound, I used my Crazy Tube Circuit Starlight fuzz in front of the pedal, so that'd be like running a distortion, an overdrive, or a fuzz in front of this, which is probably the way that you would want to do it most of the time if you're using distortion, overdrive, or fuzz effects. All right, let's get to it. Here we go. It is the Sidekick Junior from Crazy Tube Circuits. So for this first sound in the song at the beginning of the video, first of all, I'm playing this really pretty new black Dan Electro that's really fun. I'm just using the middle lipstick tube style pickup here for this sound. And I'm using reverb, delay, and chorus style mod. The way that I've got the switches configured right now, I can switch the delay in and out independently, and the reverb and the mod come on and off at the same time. So if I just turn the mix all the way down on the verb, I just want to show you the mod first by itself. Definitely CE2 reminiscent. I've got the depth set quite high here, so if I turn it down, make it a little more subtle. It's a really awesome sound. I love that sound. I mean, I love early, you know, Boss, chorus, CE1, CE2. It's like just the best to me. So. Just such a beautiful sound. The other options here are flanger and dimension. So you get more like a dimension style. That's always a little more subtle. Let's check that out. That's really cool too. I love that. But I opted to go with the slightly more warbly, and a little more sort of vintage analog sounding CE2 ensemble for this part. That sounds great. Now let's listen to the verb. This is the exciter verb as I bring up the mix. It's got mod on the tail. I can hear the mod on the tail. It's really cool. That might be one of my favorite sounds that I'm hearing out of the reverbs on this, is this exciter. It's just got a really beautiful quality to it, like the tone of it. It's not too bright and digital sounding or anything like that. There's a warmth to the tail, the way that it echoes out, that I really like. Let me flip the switch for a second here and try some of the other ones. This would be the shimmer style. Long tail on that one, on the shimmer. Sounds great though. That's super cool. It's a sound, but it's a great sound, you know? It's a thing that's sometimes overused, but it's a great sound. Now if I take the switch and switch it all the way over here, let's see, what do we get? A gated reverb. Okay, so it just shuts down, then a little more special effect-y. Pretty cool though, I like that too. Maybe if we set the gate really short and then turn it way up, that might be a fun thing. Kind of just sounds like a super small metallic room at that point. That's fun too. I like that. All right. So that's a few of the different reverb sounds. We'll explore a little bit more of these different tones as I get more into developing parts for this song, but I just kind of wanted to flip some switches and show you what I'm hearing. Let's turn on the delay and turn off the mod and reverb. So it's a nice tape simulation. If you turn it all the way up, as far as the feedback goes, it'll tail out and oscillate a little bit, I do believe. And it starts to distort a little bit and do the tape thing, and that's fun. And then you saw me at the end of the tune, you know, turn up the feedback, and then I also varied the time, and you heard the pitch drop, and so it'll do that effect as well. That's fun. Now, if we switch the delay all the way over to the other setting is digital. So let's put it in the digital setting. Now it's more typical kind of digital style repeats without as much sort of, you know, filter and all that stuff on the repeat. Although it still does a similar thing, and when I turn the feedback all the way up, it starts to thin out a little bit and it starts to oscillate a little bit. Just doesn't get quite as distorted, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna keep going here and develop some more parts for this song. So in the chorus, I doubled kind of the main backing guitar part, and for this I used the dimension sound with the depth up real high. Lots of mod going on, and the verb is spring. So you can really hear there's a lot of, you know, the rattling of the springs or whatever they call it there. It's got a really cool sound to it. I don't know what you call that, but it's like, it's kind of primitive sounding. You know, you can hear like the springs doing their kind of their vibrating, rattling thing. I'll turn off the mod for a second, or I'll just turn the depth all the way down on the mod, and let's hear what that sounds like. You can hear the springs. I'll turn down the decay a little bit. Let's see what that sounds like. I guess that's like dwell. I mean, it just kind of makes it a little more dramatic when you turn it all the way up. I had it up, you know, above half when I was cutting the part, and it sounds really cool. Let's turn up the mix like way up on the verb and see what happens. So here's this control all the way down that I think is kind of the dwell. And all the way up. There's more decay time, there's more bass in the signal, and it just gets really, you know. just what you want for your surf band. I'm really piling on the effects on these sounds, but it just sounds so good. So this is just an incredibly simple guitar part, but I felt like it was the right thing to play. It's almost like sonar. It sounds like super underwater, but it's really nice. Right? I just really like it. So what am I doing? It's the flanger with the depth up high and the speed up fairly high. And I've got the reverb. I mean, I'm piling on the effects here. I've got the reverb 3/4 of the way up. For this, I'm using the plate verb. And it's got a really cool sound to it. If I switch off the delay for a second here, you can just hear the mod and the verb. Whatever's going on with the modulations on the reverb sounds, there's mod on the tail that's just kind of a predetermined thing, I guess, and it sounds really cool. Love that. If I turn the depth on the flanger way down, turning off the verb for a sec, just bring it down, you'll just hear the flanger. Kind of like a medium fast flange. It sounds great. The way these are dialed in, it's hard to get a bad sound. Like, you can kind of put the knobs anywhere and all the sounds are pretty usable, so it's really fun. And then I'm using the tape delay for just like a real long echo. So for the solo guitar, or melody guitar, really, it's not really a solo, it's a melodic part, I used my Crazy Tube Circuits Starlight fuzz, which is one of my absolute all-time favorite fuzzes. It always sounds great. And I ran that in front of the Sidekick Junior, you know, Gilmore-y, Muffy style fuzz. Had the delay set to kind of bounce back rhythmically, used no mod on this part, and I've got a little bit of shimmer reverb on the tail as well. So it's mainly digital delay, shimmer reverb, and the fuzz, and that's what you're hearing. So let's check out that part. Thanks for watching my video on the Sidekick Junior from Crazy Tube Circuits. Just terrific sounding, modulation, delay, and reverb all in one small, easy to use pedal. I would have no hesitations recommending this for somebody that wants a great sounding smorgasbord of different sounds but doesn't have a lot of real estate on their pedal board. And even if you do have a lot of real estate on your pedal board, this is a great option, especially if you like simple. If you just like simple knobs, simple controls, and you don't want to screw around too much, you just want to get some great tones, this is killer. Check it out further at the link down in the video description below. You can click there, it'll take you to more info about the Sidekick Junior, and you can check out all the other great Crazy Tube Circuits pedals as well. Please hit subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell beside the subscribe. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. Come back and see me often. I am Pete Thorne. Take care, you guys. Over and out.